Good morning, Sergeants. My name is Specialist London. I'll be providing a class on what lifelong learning means to you as a soldier. Okay, by the end of this class, the goal is for you to have a better and stronger understanding of what lifelong learning is. The risk assessment is low for this class. If you do feel like you are going to be falling asleep, just stand up and move to the back of the class and do not disturb anyone else. And we'll get right into it. Okay, so what do you think lifelong learning is? Lifelong learning is just becoming a lifelong learner is just being an individual that is constantly learning, constantly just progressing, doing new things to learn. So we'll go into the next slide so that I don't touch over other things. Okay, so the next slide is just about some things that you're going to be getting from this class. So you'll be learning about the benefits, the disadvantages, how and why the Army promotes it, pretty much why it's important. Okay, next slide. So to get into the benefits, we have here on the slide goals and interests, self-confidence, self-motivation, and new skills. So let's start with the beginning. The first one is goals and interests. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, meaning that by being a lifelong learner, you will discover new goals and new interests and explore them. So that's a benefit. It's just broadening your scope of knowledge, okay? As well as self-confidence and self-motivation. Those two kind of go hand in hand. So as you become more knowledgeable on a subject, you will become more confident. And then as you become interested in a subject, you'll start to gain that self-motivation to help you progress and do what you need to do to achieve more knowledge in that subject. So for example, let's dig a little deeper into that one. For example, if you find out, you cook a meal and you said, that wasn't too hard. That's piquing your interest. That wasn't too hard. Let me try and cook another one. Let me see if I can do it without a recipe and create a new meal. So that is you piquing your interest. Now you are going to do things like research, maybe attending a few cooking classes in order to learn more on how to achieve this goal of cooking a meal without a recipe. So that is what we mean by self-motivated. You are going to go out there and search for the information, learn more into it, okay? Next one is new skills. So that kind of just wraps everything all together. Pretty much just says that in becoming a lifelong learner, you will develop new skills through your self-motivated research and the new goals and interests that you have, and then just overall just become a confident person. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So with everything, there are good and bad. In this, the disadvantages of becoming a lifelong learner is sometimes you get too excited. And when I say that, you get too excited, and so you start to gain so much information. Let me rephrase that. Let's start with the last one. Too many new topics. So you get excited about one topic. Oh, I'm excited about cooking. You get excited about cooking and you're into that for a little bit. You kind of dabble. So as you dabble, you find out, I also want to try knitting. Knitting seems interesting. You dabble in that. But all of these subjects that you're doing and you're learning about, you're not necessarily deep diving into them and getting the full scope of it. You're only getting a little bit of information to get started, and then you get distracted by something else. Never really learning all there is to know about the new interests that you have. Okay, then let's go back into too much information. Sometimes you get too excited and you try to learn every single thing at once. You try to absorb all of this information. Absorbing all of this information is good, but learning too much at one time and having so many things and not knowing where to put this newfound information and apply it to use you can end up losing all the things you learned. You can end up feeling overwhelmed, you know. So one good way to combat that is by focusing on the meat and potatoes. So figuring out what part of your interest you want to explore, and usually it's the one that you can apply to your daily life. The next one is useless information. Constantly learning things that you cannot apply. So as you can see, a lot of these disadvantages, they speak or they tie into one another. And that's what you'll find with being a lifelong learner, is that everything is pretty much full circle. Okay, so with the disadvantages, it's the same way. You can have too much information to where you're focusing on just everything. You can just focus on too many different topics, so too many different interests and goals, and not necessarily focused on one particular thing. And then also just having information that you're just not going to apply and use. So that can also become a demotivator, because it starts getting you to ask the question, well, why do I need this? Why should I focus on it? Okay, next slide. So how does the Army promote becoming a lifelong learner? Does anyone know? Okay, so yes, first one, broadening assignments. That is true. So what are some broadening assignments? You have becoming a recruiter, becoming a drill sergeant. Those are like the top two you'll see in the Army. Those are assignments that you have to go to school for. Even what we're in now, basic leaders course, that is promoting lifelong learning, because you have to go to school for it. You know, it's not just about learning your job anymore. It's about learning more aspects of your job, being a little bit more diverse as a leader. Another way is SFO TAP. So some people think, you know, the Army's not for me. The Army is still going to promote lifelong learning on your way out. So it's going to provide you with the tools to transition into civilian life. And that's one way that the Army promotes lifelong learning. Next slide. Why is it important? Lifelong learning and becoming a lifelong learner is important because it promotes professional growth, personal growth. It makes you a well-rounded soldier, and it also develops leaders. Professional and personal growth. Professional growth could be by those broadening assignments, recruiting school, drill sergeant school. Personal growth could be by, you know, going to school, learning to cook, or, you know, exploring your hobbies, interests, you know, just going deeper. And that is you developing as a person. You are growing. So that's one reason why it's important. And by doing these things, it helps you become a better leader and lead your soldiers through their personal goals and personal interests, and also helps provide them with that mentorship to become a lifelong learner and understand the process. Okay, it's all about becoming a well-rounded soldier now in the Army. It's not just about learning your job and being proficient at your job. It's everything that comes with that, outside of that, meaning, you know, just your personal knowledge. What do you know outside? How many times do you apply outside knowledge to your military career? It doesn't happen all the time, but there are moments where you can take outside knowledge and apply it to that. This is what it means by professional growth and personal growth. It all ties into being a well-rounded soldier and becoming a better leader. Next slide. So in summary, what all did we get from being a lifelong learner and lifelong learning? Okay. Yes, we went over the benefits and how it can spark self-confidence and help you become self-motivated. We went over the disadvantages about how sometimes you can get distracted, and you can also just have too much information, not necessarily grasping the information that you need. And then we also talked about why it's important in the Army. And the main point of that is the fact that it is important to help you become a better soldier, because it is not just about being ready for the fight. It is about everything outside of the fight and after the fight. So thank you for attending this class and paying attention. You know, the risk assessment remained low. No one got hurt or anything. being in this closed space, everyone was alert, so I appreciate that. In this AAR, I would like to, just go over what we did, which is we learned about lifelong learning. And, if I can just get someone to tell me what we actually went over. And then if I can get 3 sustains and 3 improvements. Thank you. My name is Specialist London, and thank you for coming to my class.